Working with Arsenal and partnering with them has put us in front of so many people that we didn't even know existed, has opened us up to new industries that we probably never would have even met or interacted with. The people I've got to meet because of my relationship with Arsenal has been fantastic, and hopefully that'll turn into a budding, developed relationship in the future. Um, Arsenal has been a pack of hound dogs in the best way. They are very aggressive, and they have their partner's best interest in mind. And all together, it's been impressive to watch them work. So my name is Casey Kanehl. I work for Lowcountry Technologies. I'm the chief financial officer, uh, or other things. I'm one of the owners. And so whatever hat needs to be worn at that time. I've been with Arsenal for a year now. It was roughly around February of last year, so 2024. And I think you guys actually reached out to us. I can't remember if it was via email or if Sam, one of you guys folks, called me. But it was an outbound lead from you guys that had reached out to us. I mean, it fit an exact need that we had. You guys were highly specialized in the MSP or the managed service field. You guys work with one partner per geographical area, which was what's very enticing to us. Luckily, we had lost an employee at that time that freed up the funds that we could bring you guys on board, and it felt better to have someone who specializes and understands the sales process, largely from a lead generation standpoint. The selling and the pitching and stuff like that, that's something that, not to pat myself on the back, I can do in my sleep. It's really the lack of lead generations or funnels, and that's something that you guys brought. We had a dedicated, rep that was working with us. All of that was very enticing. It's been going well. We have one of our newer and better clients, to be honest with you, was a direct conversion from an Arsenal lead. And since my company does so many things, we're not just IT. That gives Arsenal the ability to kind of spread their wings and meet multiple niches or solve multiple solutions that other IT companies may not be able to handle. The partnership looks great. I've went through at this point, I think 3 different sales reps. It was originally Brendan. Brendan was great. My onboarding call, I think, was the most impressive thing so far. When we were onboarded, it was about an hour worth of conversation of just Brendan and Arsenal subsequently getting to know us, how we operate, what makes us different. And then that migrated to associate named Zeep. Zeep's fantastic. I know Zeep's kind of moving up and onto different things within Arsenal, and so we ended up getting Brandon. I've only spoken to Brandon once, but the relationship has been great. Honestly, there's a lot of back and forth. At any point that I feel I needed to call you guys to explain or to reiterate or to follow up, you guys have kind of taken the initiative of, even if there's a lead that is kind of gone cold, instead of putting that in my hands, because I really didn't have much of the time to do it. Your team would send the follow-ups and stuff like that. The relationship, to be honest with you, has been fantastic. The CRM that you guys have, I think it's some kind of version of Salesforce. I'm not really sure what you guys use for that, but you guys' CRM is clean. The ability to see the call recordings and actually listen to each and every one of those, and to have that consistent feedback of, hey, this is how I would have liked this handled, or hey, this sounded great. And then that kind of gives me a peek behind the curtain as well. In addition to that, you guys taking the initiative to want a whitelisted email address and a local area coded phone number, so that it reflects to my clients that we're not actually using an outsourced solution. That's another strength that you guys have. And in addition to that, again, having a dedicated rep. I'm not calling a call center. I'm calling one person. I'm texting one person. I'm emailing that one person. And that's a huge strength, having someone specifically situated to handle me and my company, and someone that I can build a relationship with. That way it's easier for them to know what they're talking about when they are prospecting. No, and keep in mind, I'm not the one doing it, so I guess you guys may even have a better understanding of that. No, I do not. The amount of meetings, and that's kind of what I was looking for as well. It's like the amount of meetings that have been set up based on the cold calls, is kind of more than I expected, in a good way. There's nothing bad about that. Naturally, as is with most people, some fall through because they took the call. They just wanted to get someone off the phone. For every 100 calls you make, you may get 30 hang-ups. I don't think cold calling is dead. I don't think it is as prevalent as it was, 20 years ago, because, back before email and online white pages, stuff like that. But no, I mean, just based on the past year of our relationship, I couldn't agree that it was dead, because we've had a lot of meetings set specifically driven off of cold calling. So no. Yeah. Altogether good. I don't really have any negatives or anything. I would say, as far as being coachable, I guess anytime that I've made adjustments to, um, I don't really have a great example. I'm trying to think of the example. I had to make an adjustment one time based on something I heard on a call. It wasn't anything bad. It wasn't anything offensive or anything like that. It was just the way I wanted it worded. And I mentioned that to my BDR, and going forward, it was corrected immediately. So I would say that they are very coachable. I do feel like, kind of there was some time that I didn't provide enough of my time in order to further build a relationship. And so I can't put that on any of the BDRs. Other than that, they're very respectful, quick to respond, answered any of my questions, and seemed hungry at all points in time. And so any kind of mishaps or lack of communication or further relationship building, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to probably put that on myself. Not to use the excuse that I am too busy, but there have been times where I've been too busy to accurately engage and best engage with the BDRs. For the most part, the quality has been good. There is we push out, I would say, give or take, probably about 20 proposals. That and and those are based on, we handle it a little bit differently, and I've seen some of the work that Arsenal's done and some other successes that some of their you guys other clients have had. As just pushing out proposals, so at least it kind of sits on the desk as a reminder, even if the meeting didn't seem like a win. I'm generally pushing proposals out if I have a good feeling about the meeting, and I think over the past year we push out 20 proposals. Um, we've gotten some back and forth from those from the clients. Some of it was price related. Some of it, there was a great lead, a fantastic lead that came from you guys. I'm really sad that it fell through, but it wasn't anything you guys did. And honestly, based on the client feedback, wasn't anything I did. The lady agreed. She said our pricing was fair. She liked my BDR, but she assumed work directly for me. But she liked the conversation she had with me. They weren't in a position to make that move because the cost was roughly about the same that they were paying now. And though she did see that we had, better strengths, again, she couldn't bring that to the board and say, hey, we're not saving any money, but I like these people better. There wasn't. So that was one that fell through. That was really sad. But again, from the call quality set in the meeting, the type of client we're going after, that was perfect. There's been a ton of those. But we have seen some success. I feel like it would only become more successful throughout continued use. Um, One was roughly around let's say $3,000 a month, which is good. That's good MRR. And it gets us closer to an ROI, especially on year one. The other one that we won, we have not onboarded yet. That's a phone customer. We're working with trying to get their number switched now. We're still currently in an email chain, but they have agreed to go with us. That's an MRR about $800. So altogether, I'm missing anything. Bringing my MRR to roughly $4,000 a month just from Arsenal leads is a pretty good ROI in year one, I think. No, it was great. Again, it was to take the headache of that customer out because they're a government facility, but take that headache out. It was good. It was again, it's not to sound cliche. It's something that wouldn't have happened unless we had been part of Arsenal. They would have never heard of us. They're an hour and a half away from us. They wouldn't have started looking in Savannah. It was just kind of a perfect match made in heaven. The meeting was set. Me and a coworker of mine had a very real conversation with the owner of that company. Went in, did our due diligence, showed kind of our strengths as far as client experience and expertise, and it took us a while going back and forth to finally onboard them. But we even actually tried to turn them down because of their restrictions, but they said no, that they wanted us. But again, none of that would have came to fruition without that outbound call that originally discovered that they had pain points with their current provider. I mean, a pipeline is just that, it's a pipeline. There's never any dead leads. Even if they go cold for a while, there's still the chance to revisit them. There was one that was a really good fit for us. I was a really good fit for them. They advised that we were too pricey, even though they hated their current provider. They called us back actually a couple months later, and I sent them a revised proposal that was a little bit more cost effective. They said that we'd need to come down about half in order to do business. I'm not going to kneecap myself. And so that was unfortunate, but that one, while it's not dead, that could be, if they continue to get pissed off enough or their prices keep going up enough, that could be something that they come back to. As far as I can't put a monetary value, unfortunately, on what's out there. As you just mentioned, about $20,000 in MRR out about and floating in the ether in the pipeline. Outside of the one that we just closed for phones, there isn't anything pending that's I'm expecting to turn into something right now, at least. It's a combination of both. And this is kind of, unfortunately, I think where I have, and this could have led to, I would say maybe 1 or 2% of the leads that have gone cold went colder faster because I wasn't as diligent as following up. Now, anything that looked promising, anything that I felt like I had a good engagement with during my meetings, um, I was following up pretty regularly. There was a bank out there that wanted kind of a tier one tech support, but not the full stack. I followed up with them, and me and Brendan went back and forth for months, and they were dealing with their CEO. I was sending emails. The company I just mentioned a second ago, they, I followed up with them personally myself a couple times, had one of my BERs, and you have to forgive me, I don't remember if it was Brendan or Zeke at that point, followed back up with them, and that's when we discovered that it was a little bit too expensive. Um, I'll be very honest, I have not done my due diligence on consistently following up with every single lead. Some of them I felt, you can feel, especially when you're in an engagement meeting, you can feel that, hey, this isn't going anywhere. They're meeting you to check a box, not really because they care. On those, I was less enticed to follow up on. And then there were the occasional, I'd say probably 2 or 3 times out of a past year-long relationship, either Zeke or Brendan had to ask me like, hey, here's this list. Have we followed up on these? Do you need me to follow up on them? They were very proactive, where that's concerned. Again, unfortunately, nothing came up of most of those, if not all of those. But yeah, there was follow-ups. I wouldn't say it was as consistent or as aggressive on my end as it likely should have been. It's easy to deduce, 1 year without Arsenal, 1 year with Arsenal, we've increased that MRR because of Arsenal for roughly $4,000 a month. So roughly 48 grand a year, which is good. That's 50 grand we didn't have the year before. As far as the sales process, you're working with Arsenal actually. And again, it's unfortunate because working with Arsenal actually highlighted a lot of the things that we don't do well with us. And when we originally onboarded with Arsenal, it was more kind of like, putting a Band-Aid on something. I don't think we had a back-end process set up correctly to respect the sales process. So we are developing that internally. We're revamping our CRM to allow for lead generation to be funneled into there. Because right now, the way that it's set up is we have to manually input everything. And it's not even really a lead. It's an opportunity. And the way that some of the language and the literature and the way that the processes are handled, it's piss poor, to be honest with you. And we want to revise that, and we want to be able to dedicate a specific personnel, whether it's myself or someone who's working for me, in order to kind of capitalize on that mature sales process, which we simply don't have. Arsenal is absolutely worth the cost. There's other services like you guys that, we haven't humored it at all, but there's other services that we've known about, Final Reddit and stuff like that do have a lower cost of entry, but for what they advertise that they do, it's basically just acquiring a list and then that's it. And anyone can acquire a list. It's the fact that you guys find the list for the target markets that we're looking for and then specifically follow up on that. And a lot of times your BDRs are actually helping hold ourselves accountable by like, hey, did you meet with this? How'd this go? I want to celebrate this with the team. What's going on with this? Is there anything we can do to make this differently? I think it's absolutely worth the cost. If I can go back in time to last year, I'd hire, I'd onboard and partner with Arsenal every time, no matter how many, different multiverse experiences there were. We're the same. We make the same argument for IT. It's like, okay, well, hire an MSP versus onboarding an IT guy. And then it's like, oh, then there's the vacation time, the sick time, the benefits, the salary negotiations. You hire us, you get a whole team of people. It's the same argument. So that's one of the reasons we see value is you guys are literally just us, but for sales instead of IT. We picked flat rate because we kind of wanted to. Flat rate was the more expensive option. We wanted to trust you guys. We wanted to figure out that like, hey, we're going to invest a little bit more consistently, and trust that Arsenal's guys are going to still go after and be just as hungry. And we weren't disappointed with that. I think that's why we chose the flat rate. It's, we were looking for small potatoes as well at the time. We weren't like, hey, just focus on 200 user accounts. And so if Arsenal had got us someone with an MRR of $400, that would have been somewhat of a disappointing revenue split for them. Even at 10 or 12%, whatever it was, cool. Here's $40. Thanks for playing. But if we can pay Arsenal as a whole more and still have that same confidence, because it's a consistent amount at that point. And whatever you guys do with your money, with your BDRs, that's not my business. But it was a more consistent amount of money. We felt like we were able to trust that you guys were still going to operate as if it were a commission-based role. And again, we weren't disappointed with that. Yeah, I mean, again, we've never used another service. I don't have any real life experience to go off of, but there are definitely other services that they'll even do cold calling with a list, but they don't. You don't get access to their CRM. You don't get call recordings. You don't get meetings set. It's basically they're trying to sell for you, and I think that's again, this is a loose experience and expertise because we have not used anyone other than you guys, nor have we even looked into using anyone other than you guys. So you guys have worked under the whole package. But from what I've gathered, just by doing some research prior to our relationship, the amount of visibility and actual whitelisting partnership mentality that you guys take, there's another service, and I'll leave them nameless, but there's another service that's it's roughly 40 grand a year, which arguably is cheaper than you guys. But there, like I mentioned, you don't receive recordings. You don't have access to the pipeline. They're not getting a branded email address. And in addition to that, they're also trying to sell your stuff for you, which is great and all. That's not what we need. Like I'm a closer. I like getting in. I like meeting people. I don't need Arsenal or the Oracle competition trying to sell my product. Because fun fact, I own my company, and therefore I'm going to be more passionate than anyone else could be. So the fact that Arsenal's biggest goal is, hey, we just want to get you in front of people, and we want to have an understanding what those pain points were that led to getting you in front of people. That's all I've ever needed to sell anything. And so, yeah, I mean, what competition? Yes, so 100%. So where we're at now, and I was I mentioned this to Sam and a couple other folks as well. Where we're at now is we have a lot of housekeeping stuff to do, and I don't. This has nothing to do even with Arsenal. It's how we're allocating expenses, how we're allocating money. The fact that we don't have a sales process on our end other than showing up in a meeting and shitting at a quote or bamming out a quote. Mm-hmm. Other than that, we don't have a mature sales process. For me and my time to be pulled away from that and kind of helping restructure the business, and for us to be basically spending money on that. So it's a money and time. It's not wasted money. We need to put money and time into different places that aren't an aggressive sales. There's some companies that, hey, we want to double our size this year. We want to grow. We want to bring more employees on. Then there are other companies that, hey, we need to structure. We need to get our SOPs in line. We need to get our licenses and certificates in line. We need to refine our processes. 2025 is kind of that year for us. The goal was never to separate from Arsenal permanently. The only reason I don't think that's realistic is I know that Arsenal is a very big company. I know they're very aggressive. And because you guys have been good to us, I don't want you guys to lose potential revenue. There are other IT companies in Savannah. There are some that may jump on board with you guys. And so since you guys are geographically based as far as who you choose to partner with, yeah, would we come back to Arsenal? Absolutely. Honestly, we'd probably even entertain that later this year once we get our house in order. The chances that you guys haven't found someone or wouldn't have found someone in my same geographical area, I say it's probably 50-50. And so it's not a matter of would we come back to Arsenal. It's a matter of would Arsenal have a spot for us when we are ready. And so that's kind of what the future looks like. And in the event that we don't, there's no bad blood. Well, I understand. In the event that we don't, then at that point, I would have to look into bringing someone on, So let's say 6 months from now, I've got my house in order. I reach back out to you guys, either via Sam, Zeke, someone. And I'm like, hey, have you guys found a replacement for us? If not, are we willing to try to re-engage? And if you guys are, then cool, we move forward. We have a great relationship, go from there. If not, then at that point, once we're ready to start the growth, the sales, sales process again, the only other option, because I'm not going to look for a competitor, the only other option at that point would be to outsource someone who would work directly for me. We would try to acquire our own list, and hopefully with a mature sales process, they would be the ones to do cold calls, go knock on doors, and send emails and stuff like that. So that's what our future looks like, depending on what spots you guys have available later in the year. Yes, so I have a cleaning company that's pretty big. It's a good friend of mine. To be honest, she's getting married today in 4 hours, but and I'm supposed to go, but I'm not. Once her honeymoon's over and once all that's over, I am going to position you guys to her, and I'll even see if I can get her on a call with you guys. That I would absolutely recommend you guys. Again, I'm not going to recommend myself out of a potential spot in the market, so I wouldn't offer you guys to other IT companies. I'm just being honest, but that is anything you guys have done. It's because of being selfish. But for other lane than anyone else that you guys could help, yeah, absolutely. Treat their BDR like one of their team members. Don't think of them as a third party. Don't think of them as an offshoot. Treat them like one of your own and engage with them like one of your own, because at the end of the day, that's how they're best going to work together. The relationship has been nothing but awesome from the very beginning. I'm not sure even if Brendan's still with you guys or not, whether he is or not, it's irrelevant. But Brendan was awesome. I really liked Brendan. Him and I had a great relationship. When Zeke took over, Zeke seemed a lot more developed, like he'd been doing it for a lot longer. And I know that he has. I liked Zeke's approach even more than Brendan's when I would listen to some of the calls. Zeke is an incredible boon for almost the entirety of our relationship. I feel remiss that I haven't really got to interact with Brandon that much. The one time I did have a call with Brandon, he seemed legitimately awesome. And so really it's a shout out to you guys, even upper management. Everyone else who's reached out to me through email, via phone call, they genuinely care. It doesn't, I'm not being pitched at. It's, I kind of mentioned my woes to. And that woe is my like, hey, dude, I need to get my house in order before I'm spending more money, before I'm dedicating more time. And everyone seemed to understand it, even to the point where they're trying to work something out with me. I don't think that window is going to work, but they're attempting, and it doesn't feel like then the option to, not the option. Whatever I was talking to Sam's like, hey man, it's like, if it doesn't work out, he's like, I hate that. He's like, hopefully we can do business future. He's like, I'll make sure that all the data that we acquired on your behalf is provided to you. That was, I thought for sure it'd be like, hey, we spent the money. Here's this list of customers. We're going to keep it. The fact that our pipeline still gets to exist with us outside of you guys, that's a show of integrity. That's freaking awesome. And it's good. I don't have a negative thing to say. And to be honest with you, I mean, we spent a month or two debating on whether this was even the right call to potentially separate. And again, it had nothing to do with Arsenal, even in the slightest. It was simply the cost and my time. And I think the cost is worth it. I wouldn't even if you guys hit me with, like, I will take $1,000 off. That's not even it. We need all of the funds that we have right now to situate our house in order. I think the amount that you guys position yourself for, whether it's flat rate or the commission-based model, I think it's incredibly fair. I wouldn't even bat an eye at if I had a better process in place. So no, it's 100%. I hate to use the dating cliche. It's not you, it's me. But in this fact, it's not you guys. It's us. And hopefully in the near future, you guys will have some, still a spot for us, because we'd love to keep doing business with you guys when we're prepared for that.